Hello, 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 citizens of the Writer's Corner podcast. This is your host, author Anthony Avina, and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast. We are on episode 47, and as you can tell from the title, we're going to be discussing a more technical aspect of writing today, and that is how much editing you should be doing as you write. Now, this applies to anyone who is a writer, whether you are a nonfiction writer, fiction writer, you're writing an essay, a poem, whatever. This all applies to you. We're going to be discussing at what point you should be focusing on editing and why. And this is again just based on my experience, and everyone has their own opinion and their own techniques. But this is why I edit when I do. So, real quick though, I want to give a Lexington and Fifth update. I missed a week due to some family stuff that came up, but I just published 2 chapters to Wattpad for my ongoing year-long Wattpad project, Lexington and Fifth, a brand new novel. I published chapters 24 and 25, which should see whatchamacallit, the next victim of this killer it has been chosen, and you get to see the confrontation between the killer and the victim, and then you get to see our protagonist Ella come face to face with the killer. And when she does, she comes across someone she didn't think she'd ever see again. So be on the lookout for that. If you guys want to read that, go to wattpad.com, or use your Wattpad app, search for author Anthony Avina or the book Lexington and Fifth. So that is my Lexington and Fifth update. Now, how much should you edit while you're writing? That is a personal philosophy that is really subject to each individual writer. It's really up to you, but I'm going to give you my opinion on why I think it's a good idea to actually hold off on editing until you've actually finished your book or whatever you're writing. In my opinion, editing should be left until the end. The rough draft of whatever it is you're writing should be just that, a rough draft. It should be unfiltered, unedited. While I like to write an outline for my stories and whatever I choose to write, that is just kind of like a guidebook, like a note taker for what's to come. As far as editing goes, I wait till the end. I actually leave the writing very rough, and I leave spelling and grammar errors behind, so that I could focus more on story and characterization, so that those could be, center stage of my mind. Once the project is fully written, once all my ideas are exhausted and I put everything onto metaphorical paper, then I start focusing on editing. Because I found that when you put too much attention to detail, as far as spelling and grammar and format, when you put too much attention on that detail while you're writing, it really can hinder creativity and progress, and it really leaves a writer second guessing their work as they're writing their project. For me, I found that when I started letting go a little bit, when I started just letting all my ideas flow onto the computer screen as I wrote, I've produced some of my longest works and some of my most creative works. Editing can be done at any time, but those ideas, those little nuggets of inspiration that have, given you the courage to go out and write a story, those are fleeting. They can come or go at any time, and you never know when they'll come back again. So, as the saying goes, it's good to strike the iron while it's hot. And you really gotta, capitalize on when those ideas are fresh in your mind. So, when they're fresh in your mind like that, go to work. Write. Don't focus on, is this word spelled right, or should I change the margins to make the book look better? That stuff can be taken care of as soon as you're done writing. And you might find that through the editing process, you'll be able to expand the story a lot more. But that's something that you should focus on afterwards. Get all your ideas out. Get everything on your mind. All these characters for your stories, or the themes that you're trying to come across in your essay. Whatever it is, write it down. And then, when it's all finished, go back and edit. That's the whole purpose of editing. If you're sitting there trying to get these ideas down and then stopping after you write a sentence because you notice that there should be a comma where there's a period, or you notice that a word is used incorrectly. If you stopped every time you did that, you would really hinder your creative flow. So, as far as how much should you edit while you're writing, I would say none. And I know this could be something a little bit unorthodox when it comes to being a writer, but that's just my opinion. And you guys can, take it, and if it's something that you think will help your writing technique, I hope it helps. But leave the editing until you're done writing, in my opinion. It really will help with your creativity and will actually help boost your confidence as well, because you won't be second guessing yourself the entire time you're writing. And when we stop and remove the filter in our own heads that stops us from writing, that sometimes can create some of the biggest creative genius that you can possibly produce. Sometimes those hidden gems are hidden because they're being looked for so hard. So, in my opinion, edit only after you're done. That's what I do. Thank you guys for listening to this very short podcast. I hope this helps. In the comments below, let us know if this is a technique you practice, or if you have a counter argument for writing or editing while you write. And I would just ask that when you leave your comments or you leave your reviews on the podcast, just be respectful, in the comment section. I totally am happy to talk about everyone with their different opinions. I just ask that we be civil. I notice a lot in social media now, especially with such heated topics out in the open. People get so passionate that they get into arguments that just don't need to happen. So, let's just be respectful to one another, alright? That is everything for me today. Thank you guys so much for listening. Leave those comments down below. Give this video a big thumbs up if you're watching this on YouTube. Like this video, comment on it, favorite it, and share it. If you have not yet, please hit that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me if you did. And click the eye in the sky for today's recommended videos, playlists, and more. Be sure to also leave some topics of discussion for our next podcast, and maybe I'll address it and I'll give you guys a shout out in the podcast. I'd really love to hear from you guys. Also, if you're listening to this on SoundCloud or iTunes, thank you so much for tuning in. Please give this video a big thumbs up. Like this video, comment on, or not this video, but this podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't yet, and check out all our social media links in the description. And if you like what you read or what you heard, please not only subscribe, but give us some reviews and give us some thoughts and feedback. We always love hearing from you guys, and if you have any thoughts that you'd like to share on how you'd like to hear the podcast improved, or topics to discuss, feel free to leave them, and we'll talk about it, and we'll make sure to give people shout-outs if we choose your comment. So, thank you guys so much for listening. This is your host, author Anthony Avina, and we will see you next week for episode 48. Wow, almost 50, guys. We're going to be tuning in to episode 48 next week of the Writer's Corner podcast. We will see you then. Long days and pleasant nights, my friends.